So I try to release a funny story or invention once a week. I did get a little bit behind, but I am catching back up. So here's my next funny story. I used to lay tile for Walmart, traveled cross country, been to 47 states, been all over. The way it would work is they had counters, and they were 24-hour super centers. So the super centers would stay open, and we'd start working at 9 o'clock at night and work all through the night until the morning, until about 7 in the morning. And we had to be sure to get done by 7 in the morning, or it was a big deal because we had to be ready for customers and stuff. So every night we would come in, and there would be a crew of people that traveled around the country that ran the things for Walmart and the job for the Walmart side of things. And with their job, they had to move all the counters out of my way so I could lay the tile. And there was a crew of about 5 people that knew what was going on, but they would hire temporary people from all over, everywhere they were at, really. They would just put out an ad and just hire people that had no idea what was going on. And it was a lot of times a little bit like chaos, because they would put jacks on these counters and everybody would get on them at the same time and push them out into the alleys, and they were all full of stuff. They wouldn't take any of the product off. So you can imagine moving a counter with all the stuff on it, it's going to fall off. So while they're pushing it, it's all falling on their heads and stuff. And it's just it's the fastest, most efficient way to do it. If you were to take all that stuff off, it would take forever. So you just move the counters with all the product on it, and it'll make a big mess. But full circle, they move the counters out for me, and I come in with a machine. It has controls like a skid steer, like a Bobcat, and it weighs about 3,000 pounds. And I tear up it has a big blade on the front of it, and I tear up all the floor, and then prep the floor, glue it. And after I glue it, we lay it all back down, and then they move the counters back in. And that's the same process that happens every night, and there's no way around it. That's what we have to do. And so what we would do is we would caution off our area that we were in, and while we were working, people would come up and they would see us working and be cautioned off, and they'd be like, oh, and they just stand there and watch us or whatever and realize that they can't get into our area where we're at. Well, sometimes people didn't care and they wouldn't listen, or they would just have their own agenda. And if I get it, to an extent, if somebody drives all the way, spends 30 minutes driving to Walmart, and then you get there and the thing that you're going for is blocked off and you can't get to it, you're like, man, I'm upset. But sometimes in life that's what happens, and sometimes in life people don't accept that answer. So it was a night just like any other night. We had the area all roped off and quarantined off, and we were in our zone working, and we had torn up the tile, we had prepped the floor, and then we had glued the floor. And you glue the whole floor with a trowel and just put a coat of glue over the whole floor before you lay the tile to hold it down. And it's a clear coat thin spread, so where you can't really see the glue. It's just like a clear. When it dries, it just looks like there's a concrete floor there. And we had the floor all glued up, and we're getting ready to lay tile, and this lady comes in and she's like, hey, I need milk. And I'm like, oh man, I'm sorry, miss, this area is blocked off. You can't do that. And it was a floor where we had to repair lots of spots. And if you repair a spot of concrete with patch and then glue over the top of it, and then step on that glue, when you lift your foot back up, that patch is going to stick to your shoe, and it's going to leave a hole in the floor that I have to replace and do the whole process all over again. So it's a nightmare. And if you leave something on your shoe, if you have something in your shoe and you leave it on the floor and I lay a tile over it, it makes a lump, and I have to pull up that tile. So we try to keep our floor super clean and not let anybody step on it. And she didn't understand the concept. And I tried to express to her, ma'am, this floor is glued. You can't go out there. You're going to have to wait or go somewhere else. I'm so sorry. And she straight started to cuss me and was like, you and I'll do whatever I want. I came all the way here, and we went back and forth a little bit, and she was very rude and very hostile and very mean to me. And I was like, I kept trying to tell her she couldn't do it, and she couldn't do it. She basically told me, F you, I'm going to do it anyway. And she lifted up the caution tape, came straight under the caution tape, and went strolling right across my glue like it was no big deal. Until she got about 10 to 20 steps out there. Because you see, when she was walking, everything's dusty and stuff. So she had dust on the bottom of her shoes. And the way dust reacts with glue is that it doesn't stick. If you mix dust and glue together, it won't stick. So she was able to get out there a bunch of steps because she had dust on the bottom of her shoes and it didn't stick. But once that dust went away, the glue stuck to her shoe. And that's when the fun began. Because let me tell you what, she took a step and her shoe came off and she goes, oh no. and after her shoe came off, guess what? She took another step and you never guess what happened. That shoe came off too. And we're watching this and we're starting to die laughing because it's getting worse. And then of course she's kind of like stumbling around like, oh my god, and trying to like get her shoes and stuff, and she's taking steps while she's doing this. So she takes a step and boom, there goes the sock left in the floor. And then boom, another step, another sock left in the floor. And at this point it's become apparent that she is pretty much stuck out there on the glue. So she's stuck out there on the glue and she's doing what she can to get her shoes and get her stuff. But once she's out of her shoes and once she's out of her socks, she's down to bare feet. And let me tell you what, it's no less sticky on bare feet. So when you put the pressure of your bare feet on a floor that's glued, when you pull up, you're going to leave a little bit of your skin there left behind, because just a little bit. But the more steps you take, I'm telling you, the more tender your feet are going to get. And that was just an absolute mess. It was so freaking hilarious watching her go from cussing us to, well, yeah, she was still cussing us when she was out there in the middle. She was just cussing us worse then. But at that point, it was funny, and it was all her fault, and it was no longer anything to do with us. So it was just watching the shit show go down and watch it happen, and it was just great. I guess karma was instant in that moment, and she instantly regretted all of her life decisions, and she was able to get all of her stuff and tenderfoot it back to the tile. And I might even have threw a couple pieces out there that I could lay down and take back up to help her walk on to get back, because I'm a nice guy. But it's just a funny story, and sometimes life throws you curveballs and you just got to take it as you can and try not to make things worse. And I have that same tendency. I'll make things worse sometimes, but yeah, it's another funny story I figured I'd share with y'all. One of my crazy experiences, one of the crazy things I've seen in this world. But appreciate everybody keeping up. Like I said, I try to do this once a week. Also release inventions and just trying to help the world, create a little positivity. And yeah, I appreciate everybody for keeping up. Thanks, guys.